So it's about a year into the biggest bull market we've ever seen in Pokemon card history, and you want to start your own business. Are you insane? Probably, but that doesn't mean you can't be successful. But where do you start? You can't get access to ample English supply and products unless you're willing to scalp, which I don't recommend at all. Also, that's probably not a sustainable business model there. So how do you get started? How do you get product? Well, one of the avenues that people oftentimes look to is Japanese sealed products. We see very successful examples of this in the hobby with PokeNE building and starting his empire by buying and selling bulk product, boxes, packs, singles, promos, all of that sort of stuff. Absolutely phenomenal. And if you've been on YouTube checking out some Pokemon card like business content, you've definitely run into PokeNE's videos before and how he's encouraged people to engage and buy and sell Japanese products. But I want to caution you, it might be a trap. This decision to invest and deploy capital into Japanese products could be what ultimately costs you your entire business in the hobby. Let's talk about it though. My name is Matt with RTCG. I really appreciate you clicking into this video, and I promise it's not all doom and gloom. I'm actually very positive towards Japanese products, but there's some really important and key factors that you should keep in mind before you fully dive in to this side of the business. It functions very differently than other aspects and other venues of the hobby, and you need to be aware of that before you dive in and before you deploy tons of capital on something that you're not super confident about. This is one of the reasons why I always say grow with what you know. If you're not familiar with Japanese products and what kind of cycles Japanese cards go through, the pricing structure there, how to properly import the product into the US and how to find suppliers and work with them, then you're working with a disadvantage. You're more susceptible to maybe running into a scam or something like that. You're more susceptible to ultimately spending too much money and not being able to make the profit you need to make to keep your business running. This video is going to guide you through how I purchase my Japanese products and some of the most important factors I think you should consider before diving into it. So, what's the most important factors? Before we get into how do you purchase the product, which I know a lot of people are interested in, and honestly, I think it's one of the more simple sides of this conversation. I think what's more important than that is to think about these important factors and how you, as a business owner, a potential business owner, are going to approach these things. The first and foremost thing when it comes to Japanese sealed products is, first of all, finding out what your sales kind of funnel is going to be. How are you going to unload or sell off the product once you buy it? There's a lot of different ways to do this. You can sell it locally through Facebook Marketplace, local card shows, things like that. You could also sell it on something like TCG Player or eBay. Additionally, a third option is to create your own website, just like PokeNE teaches, and sell products there. All of these different avenues can potentially make you money, but there's some very big caveats to that you need to be aware of. And I'm going to throw out just a red flag here for eBay and TCG Player. eBay and TCG Player charge fees because they are marketplaces, because they are platforms. Primarily, they offer a service to any seller and any buyer on the platform, and they absolutely deserve to make the money that they're owed. Keep this in mind. When you're on eBay, when you're looking for different listings, when you're on TCG Player looking for singles or sealed products, TCG Player is doing all of the work to get eyes on those sellers' product. They're literally like having an entire ad agency, advertising department that's working for you, making it easier and easier for you to sell your products. Is that worth something? Absolutely. And that's where those fees come into play. And I think that they absolutely are worth what we pay them in fees. But when you're talking about buying something like Japanese bulk, you need to make sure you can, acquire product at a certain price to where it makes sense to sell on a marketplace that's going to take 13 to 15% right off the top. This is where we get into the second kind of major, most important factor about Japanese cards. There is not. It's not the same as when you buy a collection here as a reseller in the US, in the States. You can go to Facebook Marketplace, find anybody selling their collection, and then make offers on that. You can offer 70%, 75% of market and work out a deal there. So where you have a slim margin, but a fixed margin for what you anticipate to make off of those cards. Yes, the market can swing back and forth and you can lose a couple percentage here, gain a couple percentage. That's the typical market flow. In a more of a bull run, what we've experienced so far is you can buy at 80%, wake up next week and it's worth 120% of what you bought it for. I don't think that that's going to be the way that things are moving forward, but just so you know, Japanese product does not work that way. You are negotiating with a supplier. You're not able to negotiate, hey, I see your listing prices for X yen. I would like to offer you 70% for that. Glory to Team Rocket box. How do you feel about that, Mr. Supplier? That's not how that conversation and that relationship works. Now, you could purchase a ton of product from a supplier, build a relationship over time, and maybe negotiate some kind of special negotiated prices and discounts that way. It's more of a almost, it's an established business relationship that you grow and build over time. And once you build up enough purchase equity, once you've made enough deposits into that relationship and you're buying so much in bulk, maybe there is some wiggle room there. Of course, that would make so much sense. But for you just getting started out, I would be very cautious when you're going to negotiate with any sort of supplier. Don't hit them with a 70% offer, okay? That's a good way to get a big no. It's also not very respectful to the other business owner on the other side of that conversation. So you can't negotiate prices with Japanese, which means that your margins are going to be way different. Okay, you are buying at quote unquote wholesale prices from Japan, but you may be buying at 85% of market. And remember, if you sell on TCG Player or eBay, you're already taking 12 to 15% off the top. So if you do the quick girl math there, before shipping, before anything else, you're basically breaking even. And maybe even losing money in some situations as well. That's not a position that you want to be in as a business, okay? Because I haven't even factored in things like tariffs and other, costs that could be associated with importing goods to the US. Those are very important factors for you to keep in mind and for you to really think about before, deploying thousands of dollars of capital for your business. The last most important thing I want to talk about is the Japanese market. This is so important because we get so used to how the US and English market works. For example, we're in a bull market right now. We haven't seen booster boxes reprinted. We have a lack of supply, and that's driving prices upwards, okay? We also see, Pokemon Company is reprinting, but they're not reprinting enough at this point. So we don't know how much they're reprinting of things and how quickly they can turn those out. But in Japan and in the Japanese market, when Japan decides to reprint something, they reprint it and they mean business. So we joke about things being printed into the ground here in the US. We don't hold a candle to what they do with product in Japan. There's not this concept. I don't believe there's this concept of quote unquote overprinting. The culture and the demand and everything there is just different. Okay. And so you can see what I'm trying to say here is the market can swing wildly in Japan. As the printers are on, as the printers are going burn, products being printed, you could see a lot of correction downward for the price in Japan. Which means that if you buy a box whenever there's not as much supply, you're spending a lot more money. And then you could buy 10 boxes of Super Electric Breaker at the current market price in Japan, at the current wholesale supplier price. And you have about a 10 to 15% margin on that if you sell it in the correct way. But if they start printing Super Electric Breaker in Japan, you could wake up next week having no idea that this was happening. You could wake up next week and those prices have corrected down 40%. So a box that's selling for 120% could be 80 $80, $90 next week, which means that you have no profit margin on that box. Literally zero profit margin. Of course, you can list it at your set profit margins, but when a consumer, when a buyer here in the US can look at your listing that's at $150 per se, and then look at the next listing, which is listed at $105, they're not going to go with the $150. No, nobody would do that, right? They're going to go with the cheaper price. Now, you could hold those boxes until the price starts, ooching up a bit, and you could hold them long enough, be diamond's hands, so strong, mentally strong, to where you hold those for however long it takes for them to get back up and over your kind of margin area for you to make profits. I actually want to pause here and share a story of Glory to Team Rocket. When those boxes released, I had an initial order that came in from Japan, sold extremely well. I was buying boxes at around $140 per box, which is a lot. Like I don't like buying Japanese product at that inflated over price. For example, right now, it's the end of October 2025, so Inferno X is really hot right now. I've definitely been buying and selling boxes. And I'm buying boxes like, I think like retail prices are around $150 right now, $140, $150 on the market. And I'm buying prices really close to that. As I said, with Japanese products, you're looking at making 10 to 15%, maybe 20 if you're lucky. And so like it's nerve-wracking because with Glory to Team Rocket, I definitely took a hit for those boxes because that's exactly what happened to me. I think I ordered like 10 or 15 boxes, which was a lot of money for me. I'm a small business with not a lot of capital to work with right now. And when I bought those, I literally I bought them on like a Sunday, and then my stream started on Friday, which we're going to talk about the ways I sell Japanese products. By the time my stream started, I think boxes had corrected down to like 100 to 110. And so I was already losing money at the point I went to go sell that box. It hurt. I even listed packs, I think at like $4 for that first week, which was a little bit above market there, just to try to minimize my losses. And it didn't sell well. And so I've still got Glory to Team Rocket boxes I'm sitting on, and the prices have gone down even further. That was a huge learning lesson for me, and it's why I'm really highlighting these three most important things that you need to keep in mind with Japanese product. You can't negotiate price. The market in Japan is really different. Price fluctuations are very drastic, way more than we're used to here in these States, okay? Just be careful. So let's talk about how I sell Japanese products, and then at the end of the video, we're gonna talk about how to buy Japanese products. And so I'm sorry to keep dangling that carrot in front of you, but I promise when we get to that point, you're gonna be like, oh, it's that easy? Are you serious? It's that easy? And the answer is yes, it actually is that easy. So how do I sell products? Well, I sell product in a couple different avenues. I sell sealed Japanese booster boxes on my website, which is rartcg.com. If you can go check out my current stock over there. My stock has been dwindling a little bit. I've been selling it pretty regularly. Although I will say with the recent tariffs, Japanese booster boxes, when you're buying from suppliers, is elevated right now. And so there's this weird thing happening where some sellers purchase their product before tariffs went into place, and so their prices are a bit lower. And it's taking time for prices to correct upwards with the tariff that's in place. I believe what we're seeing is people just moving off of their current stock at lower prices to guarantee sales. And then that, the profit margin they're making there, they'll roll into new product and move from there. So it's just really interesting to see the market right now, because I look at some of the English prices and what you can buy at, and I'm looking at my supplier prices, which should be the cheapest that we can get. And it's there's not a lot of room there. So I sell on my website, which is rartcg.com. And then I also sell through my Rip and Ship. My Rip and Ship has been a great way to sell an open Japanese product. You may not know this, but Japanese booster boxes actually have guaranteed hit rates in them. It changes for each different kind of set. There's like standard sets, there's specialty sets, then there's sets like the black and white set that are a little bit different. But a standard box typically has 3 IRs and then 1 SR or better. An SR is like a full art card that could be a trainer, a Pokemon. It could also be your hyper rare or your SIR. So you have 1 box hit typically, and then you have 3 IRs in there, and then a handful of EXs as well. It's a really cool product. And so a lot of times when people are going to open Japanese product, they're opening full boxes just so they can guarantee those hits and really chase after that top card. So like for Inferno X, everybody wants that gold Charizard or the SIR Charizard. 2 absolutely beautiful cards. I've mentioned in recent videos I'm not a huge fan of the gold cards, but they are really cool. Like in person, the texture, the quality of the card's awesome. They just remind me of fake cards, and I just can't get it out of my brain, the correlation between the two. So that's how I primarily sell cards, is through my website, whether that's the rip and ship or through sealed booster boxes there. And then I also have started vending some local shows and building relationships and connections here in my area, in the Dallas area of Texas. It's quite a bit of fun, honestly. Like, I love interacting with people. I actually love doing these videos for YouTube. I love doing social media, all of the different avenues, streaming. I just really love interacting with people and being able to do that face to face and have, get the excitement of seeing someone open one of my packs. Like, for example, had a family come up and they bought a couple boxes from me, but one of them, for the son, he was so excited to open some shiny treasure, and they bought a box, right? And they were so excited. They went over to open it and they pulled the bubble Mew. Oh my gosh, there's so much screaming, so much excitement happening in the store, and you don't get that in the same way whenever you sell something like a sealed box online. You're shipping the whole box. It's just a different experience. It's really, really fun. Now, rip and ships, I get to firsthand see, like, I just pulled the gold Lucario a couple weeks ago, and like, that was crazy, right? That's exciting as well. But watching somebody else pull a chase card that they really love and they've been chasing after is on another level. It's really exciting. And so those kind of 3 avenues through my website's twofold, and then personal, building connections, vending shows. That's how I move Japanese product. You'll notice that I didn't say I sell it on TCG Player or eBay. I don't sell on TCG Player Japanese products on TCG Player or eBay unless it's singles. As I said, my profit margin is so thin that I want to maximize the amount of profit I'm able to make off those boxes. And then to do that properly for me, I have to do that either in person or I have to do that through my website, which has lower fees tied to it. So just keep that in mind whenever you're considering this. So let's go ahead and transition to the last part of this video. Also, I got a haircut. It's pretty cool. It's pretty short. I like it. Last part of this video is going to be how to secure and how to purchase Japanese product. As I said, this is going to be super easy, super straightforward. Short version of this is literally you need to have an Instagram account, and basically you can make 1 post online about being interested in selling Japanese product, and you'll probably have suppliers reaching out to you. Now, a lot of people, when I talk about buying Japanese bulk, they want to know, who are the suppliers I work with? Who do I work with, and what are their names? What are their accounts, and what are their prices like? To be honest, I don't share that information because I think it's important for the business owner, those of you watching, to get out there and to send some DMs. I've sent a lot of DMs in my time, not as many as Pokey and he says that he did. I think that Japanese wholesalers and Japanese suppliers are so much more readily available. There's so many more out there than there were whenever Pokey and he was first creating his videos. It's easier now than ever, to be honest. Not to mention there are some like US based wholesalers that if you have the correct business license, if you have to order a certain amount of boxes from them, you can also do it that way. I think Retrospecs on Instagram is one of those. Dude, Retro is a really, really great contact. He also creates videos from time to time, like his YouTube's really sick as well. I don't think he's creating a lot of content right now, but really, really cool. Seems like a really chill guy. So highly recommend those kind of things. But I promise, like, if you get out there, if you just like Instagram search Japanese Pokemon cards, oh my gosh, you will be inundated with so many suppliers. But then you have to worry, like, am I gonna get scammed? How do I know this is legit? And I wanted to take a couple seconds to talk through that. The best way, honestly, to, vet the, legitimacy of a supplier is check who they follow. Check who follows them. Really, really good suppliers will have a reference post or a reference story that kind of like displays a reference post would be like an Instagram post, and then they request that people who have purchased from them kind of leave a positive comment or leave a comment about their experience and their review of that service. I think that's a brilliant idea and provides some immediate credibility to the person, right? Of course, those could be fake accounts and all of that, but just these little touches, like, do they post regularly? Do they post their face in their videos? As you talk to them, like, how detailed are they? Do they look like an official business? All of these things can go a long way to help you feel more secure. But I'm gonna be honest, like, when the rubber meets the road, that's such an old man thing to say. When things get real and it's time to make your first your purchase from Japan, you're gonna be nervous because you're gonna have to pay through Wise. You're gonna have to do a bank transfer. Maybe you do PayPal and you use goods and services to try to protect your money a little bit. Either way, you're putting a lot of trust into somebody that is very, very far away from you. The beautiful thing, though, is if you do your due diligence and really get to know the person, get familiarized with what they do, you're going to be taken care of, I think, a majority of the time. Obviously, you can't guarantee it. Scams and bad things happen all the time. But all of the Japanese suppliers I've worked with have been absolutely phenomenal, super great people. And just so you know, like, prices vary between suppliers as well. All of these are reasons that I don't just like kind of throw out, here's 5 names of suppliers. Just number one is I would hate to make a recommendation and for you to have a terrible experience or for something bad to happen with your order. I don't think that's fair for me to do that, especially when you're a business owner. And honestly, like, you got to do the work. You know what I mean? Like, you got to do the work. There's no shortcut around it. The shortcut is the work. The cheat code is the work. Oh man, what a good video. I hope that y'all enjoyed this. I like talking about Japanese product. It's been a really fun experience for me selling it, ripping on all my rip and chips, selling it locally, watching people open the product in front of me at shows. It's so much fun. And you go to shows and you see people like having all these slabs and singles and everything at their tables, and my table is just literally just cram packed with like Japanese boxes and maybe one small binder of like low-end singles that I'm selling as well. It's just like a vibe. It's just a vibe, and in a market where people can't find packs readily for like more affordable prices, being able to tell people like, hey, you could pick up a pack for $2. You could pick up a pack, which is pretty rare. Japanese prices are kind of crazy right now with the tariffs. You could pick up a pack for $3. Like, that's just exciting. Like, they get to have a little taste of enjoyment with Pokemon and not have to break the bank. It's great. It's great. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I think that's going to be it for the video. Let me know your thoughts down below about Japanese product. Are you considering starting to sell it? And yeah, I'll see you for the next one. Peace.